That's cable TV? Mm-hmm. The charm.
Our special guest this week on Best Bets at the Box Office is Mandy Patinkin. Mandy, thanks for joining us here on the show. They just saw you in that clip there with your little flip book. I wanted to ask you, by the way, before we get into anything else, that the flip books always intrigued me. You didn't have anything to do with that, I'm sure. They made that for you, and then you just flipped it.
Yes, they did.
Yeah, those are really interesting.
Although I did get a little skilled at making silhouettes.
Did you really?
I had to study with someone, and so I started playing with it, and then I practiced cutting his silhouette, and it was surprisingly like it.
Really?
And I was doing Evita at the same time while I was preparing the movie. So I did everyone's silhouette in the company.
This is cost about 10 cents.
The whole dressing room wall was plastered with silhouettes. And
Memorabilia for
about 60% of them you could guess who they were. I'm not trying to brag or anything.
Right. You mentioned Evita.
Right.
Let's get into a little bit of your background before we tell about what you've been doing now. You won a Tony Award for the play Evita on Broadway, and then you toured with it?
No. Well, I toured before we went to New York, and basically the reason they do that is it costs so much money now to do a Broadway show. It's something like $1.5 million. But they take it to LA for 10 weeks, and then we did it in San Francisco for 7 weeks, and they sell it out through a chain. And by that time, they make back, a certain amount of chunk of the money, and then we did it in New York. So my original contract was 18 months, and that included the 6 months on the road, the 1 year in New York.
We should mention that just because we're here in Kansas City that you studied at the University of Kansas.
Yes, I did. Called my professor this morning, Ken Smith.
Did you really?
Just a friend of mine. I never really studied with him because I wasn't a very good student, but he did end up to be a good friend of mine.
Classroom, right?
Yes. And so I talked to him this morning, and that was nice. I wish I had time to go over to Lawrence because I had a great time there.
Yeah, good. How old are you?
I was just 29.
You were just 29.
Right.
So you haven't been away from there that long then, right? 8 years?
I left, well, I didn't, I quit,
Oh, okay.
So I left in 72, and then I went to Juilliard. So what is it now? It's now 81, so what, 9
almost
years?
82. You went to Juilliard and studied what, music?
Well, no, I went to the drama school there, and I was in the 4-year program, and I quit after 2.5. Went to Europe with my backpack to stay there for about a year. Came back in 3.5 weeks.
What prompted you to go to Europe with a backpack?
Oh, just the insanity of being at Juilliard for 2.5 years. I wanted to blow out my brain. So then I was just too itchy to prove to myself that I could work. So I flew back to New York, and I got a job as a mooser at a restaurant across the street from Lincoln Center. That's where you give out chocolate mousse.
Oh, okay.
A mooser. You give out chocolate mousse, and you say, "Hi, would you like to go over to Fiorella's and try our chocolate mousse?" They ignore you and walk on. And
that brought you all your fame, right?
yeah, so, well, I was going to dress up as Bullwinkle mousse, and I thought that I really had an in there.
Couldn't find anybody short enough to play Rocky.
Well, supposedly Geraldo Rivera came into the restaurant, so the owner was going to have him do a big story. But I did have someone to play Rocky. It was one of the main reasons I didn't want to do it, because she was driving me crazy. So I decided not to do that, and I got that first week that I was back, I was moosing in a busboy, and then I got this job at Center Stage in Baltimore, where I got my equity card, and it was a children's tour where we did grammar school and a high school.
The movie, I guess we'll talk about that a little bit, is called Ragtime, and it's a Milos Forman film, and your role in it is that of someone, like you already said, you're one of the people back at turn of the century America that was just on the street doing silhouettes, making a living.
Come, please, come. Missus, come. You have to see. Come.
Eventually you get into doing little flip books and eventually become a film director. How did they cast you for that role? Did just seeing you from Evita?
Well, Milos saw me in Evita. Michael Weller, who wrote the screenplay, is a friend of ours, my wife and myself. So a long time ago, Michael said, I'm working on the screenplay as part of it. It might be interesting. I don't know whether we'll go old or young, and on and on and on. So eventually, Milos and Michael and I had dinner, and we all talked. Time went by, months went by, I hadn't heard anything. I finally called up Milos. I said, what the hell's going on here? I want to crack at this. So Milos says, well, listen, Manny, do you think you could, would you want to come and improvise with us? Would you do this? Would you come and improvise? I said, sure. So I go over, and Liz McGovern's there, and Milos and I, and we sit down and we start working on the scene. It goes okay, and we go on for a while, and then we meet again, and it gets better, a little more confidence. And I'm trying, at that time I was doing an 82-year-old Jewish fellow that I knew, but he was an immigrant a long time ago, and he'd been in America all his life, and I was trying to bring him down to 28 years old. And it wasn't quite right, and I knew it, but I was doing the best I could.
Yeah.
So eventually we had the screen test, and then I was married on the Sunday after my screen test, which was Friday. And then Milos calls me on Monday. He says, "Lisa, everything is wonderful. Your accent is wonderful." No, he didn't say the accent. He says, "Everything is wonderful. Your instincts are wonderful, but I have trouble with accent. You know, it's not quite right. Do you know Russian immigrant?" Because he wanted an immigrant who'd only been here like 3 months, 2-3 months, that real broken, busted feeling. I said, "Look, Milos, my phone book isn't full of Russian immigrants. I don't know what to tell you. I'm going on my honeymoon on Thursday." He goes, "Shit, listen, could you, so eventually he and Mary Goldberg got me together with 3 Russian immigrants. So I sit down with them and I'm talking to them and everything, and they're fascinating story about how they escaped. And there are these Jewish immigrants all around 50 years old. And I had this idea where I gave to the interpreter who was with us, I whispered in her ear, the first scene, the silhouette scene, the lines that Milos and Elizabeth and I had worked on. She told it to them in Russian, and they gave it back to me in that broken, poetic, screwed-up English.
And you just mimicked that.
And I took that tape on my honeymoon and worked on it, and then my ear clicked, and I finally got the accent. I went over to Milos, I told him, showed him to him, and he said, "Terrific," and I had the part.
Great innovation, man. Good idea.
I can do everything. What do your heart desire?
It did it. I mean, it worked. It was. We then went on through the whole script. I got together with this fellow over and over again, and the interpreter, and it was just the ticket to the part.
Milos Forman, who you've been impersonating, he wasn't the first director on the film, right? They had started out with someone else.
Well, the history of it was the only director on the film that I ever knew of until the film opened, and then all these people start writing about the history of the film that I'd never heard about.
Oh, really?
And supposedly, I guess Robert Altman was going to be with the film at one point, and E.L. Doctorow had written a screenplay of the book that he also wrote. And for reasons that I have no idea about, for probably all kinds of reasons that go on in the business, he didn't do it. And by the time I came in, it was old history that Milos and Michael were doing it.
Right. This really seems like a Milos Forman film, for those people that don't know. He's in One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest and Hair, those 2 last biggies, I guess. And he seems like a director that goes for films that describe situations or paint a tapestry of what life was like at that given time or in that given place.
It's certainly a tapestry.
Yeah.
And I love that about it. I think it's funny because I always think of Milos as one of the greatest storytellers I've ever known.
Yeah.
That's one of the reasons. The reason I wanted to do the film was also because of Milos.
Yeah.
I think what he does is something far more complicated than just a linear story. He takes many stories and he weaves them together into a tapestry, which is certainly what Ragtime is. It's a compilation of. Milos has a way of walking you into the tale very slowly in the beginning. I mean, it starts off very gradual until all of a sudden you're just swimming in this other world.
Well, it's an excellent film. It enlists a lot of good actors.
There's a newcomer named James Cagney in it.
Yeah,
Other
right,
than
I've heard
that,
him,
I think he's going to do very well.
You think so?
I think he'll have a fine
Got
career.
a good future in front of him.
Absolutely. He has a certain quality that seems to work.
Right. You worked with Mary Steenburgen and James Olsen. Did you ever have a chance to work with Brad Dourif? Were you in scenes together?
Yeah, Brad and I on the Lower East Side worked on the first day because I was a nervous wreck and he was a nervous wreck. Everybody was a nervous wreck, and we're sitting on the Lower East Side, and I said, Milos is running around, and he said, no, Milos is great. Don't worry about it, because, like I've worked with a lot of guys, they set it up, and then you're doing it, and they're over there reading the newspaper. At least Milos is there all the time, so you don't have to worry. I said, yeah, and we're talking about things. He said, yeah. He said, what you don't understand, don't worry about it, because like in Cuckoo's Nest, there was a lot that I really didn't get. I mean, he would tell me all these things, and I couldn't figure it out, so I just looked at the floor. I love Brad. He was wonderful.
Yeah. The logistics of shooting Ragtime must have been quite something.
What happened was we shot in New York. They recreated the Lower East Side on 11th Street between Avenue A and B.
In New York, they recreated it?
Yeah.
Using
the real
streets?
street, right. And then you had all the skyscrapers around, so they had to recreate the entire 34th Street. I think that's a street Morgan Library's on anyway. Right. So they recreated all of that, plus the interiors, and they did all of that in London. So they shot 10 weeks in the States and 10 weeks in London. All my stuff was done in the States. I never set foot on English soil.
Randy Newman did the soundtrack, which most people are familiar with Randy Newman for Short People and a lot of the songs he does. How did they choose him? Has he done soundtracks before? Has he done?
I don't think so. I think this is the first soundtrack he's done. Milos loves his music. He just loved his music.
And then Twyla Tharp did the choreography. Of course, she worked with Milos Forman on Hair, right?
Right. You've got Pat O'Brien and James Cagney and Donald O'Connor and a lot of people. But you have so many people in the film that are main characters. I think there are about 9 or 10 main characters that you follow through the whole film. It's a real ensemble piece that way. So everybody's treated you know, like a family.
Yeah, you evolve into a big-time director at the end of the movie.
Right.
Or just breaking into, I guess, the film business back then.
Jason, turn the beat, turn me the beat, make more the beat. Open your eyes, for Andre, okay? Extreme! Snake, look. Play with your eye, play with your face, show with your tongue. Forget about the belly, all the peachy with the feet, forget. Understand? Excellent, wonderful.
Did you have to study anything for doing all the directions, or did you just follow Milos?
I watched Milos. That's exactly what I did.
figured that.
I had plenty of time. That was the last sequence that we did, so I knew it was coming, and I kept my eye on him all the time.
One other thing I wanted to ask you before we go was, you were in The Big Fix, and you were in French Postcards. I regret to say I can't remember who you were in The Big Fix. I saw that movie one time.
Well, that's all right. I was on screen for maybe 42 seconds.
Okay.
But I'll tell you who I was.
All right.
I was the pool cleaner. Remember when Richard went to the guy's house, you know, and where they had the scene around the swimming pool?
Yeah.
There was this kind of acid freak guy with the baseball
right,
cap
the
on and all the swimming pool stuff.
You were cleaning the pool.
That was me.
You know, future society thinks they'd be different, but right now, this is my pool and you're cleaning it.
Right, I know, but wait, you don't just clean it. That's
Well,
what
wait,
I'm
listen,
saying.
you want the job, Ernie?
Yeah, I do, but what did you say?
All right, listen to me.
What did
I
you
don't
say?
want to see any more pampas grass in the filth.
No, but I skimmed the filter. That's where you going. Don't go. See, that's what I'm saying. See, what did he say?
I didn't hear.
No, that's what you don't do. You got to drain the pool. That's what you got. If you don't drain, then you got to plaster it with acid, but you don't.
I don't understand why I haven't been on covers of magazines for that role, but
But you do have a recognizable face. I mean, I think when people see your face, I've seen that guy before. What's he been in? You know, one of those kind of faces.
it was a pool cleaner.
You were the pool cleaner, right?
Well,
Okay.
we're all known for something.
Right. Well, Mandy, I know you got to take off for San Diego and San
We'll go to
Francisco and
San Diego,
every place else. So have a good trip, and thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
Okay.